moved back to New Jersey. She married her high school sweetheart, Buddy, but they got divorced in about a year or so. So that's universe number one. Lots of ignorance and no bliss whatsoever. Here's universe number two. When Renee was back in New Jersey, I decided I wanted to marry her. And when she returned, I proposed. She said, I don't want to talk about it. And she kept on not talking about it for days. So I needed to do anything in my power to figure out what was wrong. So I knew that Renee had a diary. I also knew that reading your girlfriend's diary is pretty close to mortal sin. But I was desperate. So when she was out of the apartment, I found her diary and I read it. And what I found out was that she had met her high school sweetheart, Buddy, at her reunion, and that they'd fallen for one another again. Now, knowing about Buddy made the hurt in my gut even worse. And I couldn't tell her that I had read her diary. Things were already bad enough. So I said, Nay, you have to tell me what's going on. You owe that to me at least. So she told me about Buddy. And then she said, I'm moving back to New Jersey. I'm moving in with Buddy. So I cried, and then she cried. And then we both cried together. But within a week, she packed up all her belongings and she was gone. Now, I was totally wrecked. I began to drink heavily, began to smoke pot profusely, and I jumped into the bed of any woman who felt sorry enough for me to take me in, because some things remain the same, even in alternative universes. About 3 weeks later, out of the blue, I got a call from Renee. After our awkward hellos, I said, how are you? And she said, I'll be okay on Wednesday, I hope. And I said, you hope? And she said, Buddy and I have realized that we made a big mistake, and I'd like to come home if you'll take me back. So without hesitation, I said yes. That next Wednesday, she flew home. Things were like they were before her reunion, only better. She accepted my proposal. A few years later, we had 2 children. And some years after that, 2 grandchildren who don't even exist in that other universe. So, I've given you 2 universes to consider. In one, I remain ignorant and sad and lonely. In the other, I take a risk. I read Renee's diary. And yeah, there were a couple of bumps in the road, but after that, I had a life with lots and lots of bliss. So you probably know which universe of those 2 we all live in here tonight. But if you don't, it's the one in which I never, ever, ever read my wife Renee's diary again.
Nice. BART bus came by. There you go. Well, Rick, very nicely done. Top-notch storytelling right there. I love the way it's set up. Where did the idea for the parallel universe come from?
Well, even
Don't say physics class.
No, never went to physics class. Okay. But as a kid, I loved space and science. And then when the theory of alternative universes came around, I was an avid reader of the physics of alternative universes and really got into it. And when I saw the theme for this, ignorance
is bliss,
is bliss, it just popped in my mind, that pivotal thing in my life, one of the most pivotal event in my life, and how it could have been different if she and Buddy didn't figure out that they made a mistake. And there's so many other alternative universes that split off from that too.
Sure, exactly.
So it became, it it was so much fun to put it together
Yeah.
as alternative universes.
Yeah. I mean, you did mention that I'm sure you all remember from your physics class, which I never took.
Right.
So I was kind of, I don't remember, but I can go with the premise, which is great. And did you eventually stop heavily drinking and smoking pot and jumping into other women's beds?
Well, I stopped drinking a year ago.
Okay.
So on that one.
Okay.
And
Wait a minute, year 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2022.
Okay.
And when it comes to the jumping in, still smoke pot.
Okay. Good for you.
And I stopped jumping in women's bed.
Good
Yeah.
thinking right there. Yeah.
But women stopped feeling sorry for me too, because I didn't have that heartbreak
exactly.
anymore.
That makes complete
I didn't
sense.
get any more invitations.
So, is his real name Buddy?
His real name is Buddy.
Wow, I just have a problem with anybody's name Buddy or Skip or, how do you trust those people?
His real name is Buddy, which doesn't really fit him. He's a burly Italian guy with a raspy beard.
Wow.
Doesn't sound like a buddy. Does
Not
it?
a buddy at all.
That actually sounds perfectly like a buddy.
Does he?
Really?
Okay.
Like, hey, buddy, go twist his arm a little
Hey,
bit.
Buddy. Yeah,
Buddy.
there you go.
All right, well, there you go. It all works out. So your process, how do you come up with the structure? Do you write everything out? Do you rehearse? Do you put it in bullet points? How do you come up with the finished product?
I start by writing it out, and then I slowly drift away from it. Because I didn't start storytelling until I stumbled upon West Side Stories. The first time I told a story was on your stage. Yeah. And the first few stories I told, I tried to memorize, and that just doesn't work, and you stand up there and you're not natural. But I wasn't confident enough to just wing it either. So what I usually do is write it out, and I don't like it when I write it out, but I get some structure and I get some key words and phrases that kind of hang on that theme. And then little by little, I read it less and I say it more, mostly on walks with my little terrier dog.
Nice.
And he's a very good listener. And I tell him the story over and over. And then it sort of develops on its own. And I begin to not memorize, but I begin to have a series of phrases which bring me along from one part to the next in the story.
Okay, yeah.
And in that way, I don't stumble on memorizing and then get lost. Because you've seen and I've experienced being a teller when I was memorizing those first few stories I told on your stage and forgetting where I was and being lost. So the way I do it now, it allows me to kind of think on my feet, change the story if I need to, jump back to a theme if I left it out, or move on.
Nice.
So by the time I tell it, I'm not reading a story anymore. I'm not listening to it anymore. I feel pretty good that I can go up there and make up a new one if I have to, based on those themes.
Oh, nice. Okay, so what did you leave out of this story?
I left out, I said how happy I was when I decided that I wanted to get married.
Sure.
But I didn't say that I went and bought a wedding ring, skipped the engagement ring completely because we were hippies. We didn't need an engagement ring. And I painted a picture of an elf walking out of the woods carrying a big ring, and I attached the wedding ring to the picture because I made it the same size.
Yeah.
So very romantic, and of course, that's what I gave to her when I proposed and got no response.
Oh, wow.
Which was totally unlike Renee,
Yeah.
and really baffled me, why she was silent and didn't want to talk about it.
So you read her diary after this, not while she was in New Jersey.
No, afterwards,
Yeah.
After I proposed, gave her the card, and she said nothing, and a couple days went by, and she just didn't want to talk about it. She was out of the apartment, and I got the idea, go read her diary. And I did.
Oh.
Man.
Did you read the whole diary, or did you just come
No,
up
I just
to
went to the last few pages, and there was buddy this and buddy that, and after a while I realized it wasn't a buddy, like a friend.
Yeah.
It was a buddy guy. And then I realized that it was her high school sweetheart who she had met at the reunion, a perfect place to fall back in love, and then I put the diary away, pretend I didn't read it, and like I said, just kind of forced her to start
Admit
talking
it.
to me. Yeah.
Exactly. Did you ever meet Buddy?
Interesting. 2018, we both went back for her 50th high
Okay,
school
because I was going to
reunion.
ask if you went to her 20th with her, just,
No.
in case Buddy was there.
I didn't go to any until 2018 for her 50th, and Buddy was there. And Renee introduced me to Buddy, and I went to shake his hand, and he put his big scratchy beard up against my face and slobbered me with a big kiss on my cheek.
Buddy let bygones be bygones, apparently.
He let bygones be bygones. 40 years had gone by. He had married, had kids. His son just died a few days ago.
Oh, wow.
We
Yeah.
were talking to him on the phone. But I had not met him or had any contact with him until that 50th high school reunion.
Yeah. And did you punch him or?
No. I didn't
No, you
kiss.
took a big kiss.
I didn't kiss him back, but I fully
okay.
accepted the kiss that he was
Nice.
giving
Yeah,
me.
very good.
Because I knew what he was doing. He was not thanking me. Well, he was thanking me. He was thanking me for having it turn out so well.
Okay.
And he remained friends with Renee all these years.
Yeah.
And he was happy that she was happy.
Well,
Well, that's great.
it feels a little bit like a congratulations, almost.
Yeah, you're the winner.
Yeah, right?
I don't think it was that, because I didn't take it like that at all. And I think he was very communicative with his kiss as to what it was all about. Yeah.
So where did you and Renee meet?
Her brother Dean was my best friend in the Haight-Ashbury.
Okay.
And when she came out one summer and spent some time, and I got to know her a little bit. And then she went back, and then she had been married actually to another of her high school sweethearts for 6 months and got divorced, and then came back out again to move in with Dean.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I'll go to the airport with you, pick up your sister. And a couple months after that, we got together.
Nice. And how long have you been together?
Oh, yeah, you know this story, don't you?
I don't think I do.
You don't?
No.
Well, I actually told a little bit about it in the Grand Slam.
Okay.
We were together until 1998. We were married 20 years. And then I got very stupid, and too long of a story here, but we got divorced in 1998.
Okay.
And for 12 years, we were good friends. We had 2 daughters. And one of the people in the audience helped me get through some of those years, Margot.
Nice. Yeah.
Was a very good friend. She introduced me to Burning Man and lots of
Oh,
good
nice.
things to keep me occupied for 12 years.
Nice.
And I moved back to New Hampshire, and after a while, I started growing up and realizing my mistake. Even though we divorced mutually, it was my fault.
Sure.
It's my mistake. And Dean died, and I came back as he was failing with Parkinson's. And felt very close to Renee. And the last thing I said to Dean before I left, and a month before he died, is I whispered in his ear, and I said, I think Renee and I are going to get back together again. This was before I had even talked to her about it. So she called me a month later, told me he died, and I said, I'm moving back to California. I moved back, and I roomed with her for a while, and then I proposed a second time,
Wow.
and we got married again.
And you've been together since.
So we've been married 13 years this
This time.
time, 12-year gap in between, and 20 years before that.
Okay, so technically 33 years, but
Technically
split
33
by-
years, but really 40-something, yeah.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. That truly is an amazing story. So
Yep, yep.
that's great. I knew you were married to Renee. I didn't know there was a 12-year gap in between there. So
Yeah, it's
wow.
12-year gap. So, I mean, if I was lucky the first time when she and Buddy realized that they had made a mistake and we got married, I was 100-fold times lucky, or the second time,
Yeah.
when after 12 years, and we both had relationships, we were able to get back together.